Elden Ring DLC boss tier list. Already, you might say. Well, turns out it's easier to make a DLC tier list than it is to actually finish editing a full-on blind playthrough of the DLC. Oh well. But yes, I've beaten the Elden Ring DLC a couple times by now. The clips which will be shown in the background of me yapping on about these bosses no one cares about are from characters I basically made and used to beat the DLCs like 2-3 days ago max, so these boss fights are fresh in my memory right now. This tier list is made courtesy of this person whose name I will not dare even speak out loud. Wouldn't want to insult them with my terrible pronunciation. This is take 2 of this video because I made one before. I was using a different mic. It sounded terrible. Hopefully using the old mic will be better. So, without further ado, let's start with the best boss fight From Software has ever made, the Furnace Golem. Such a peak fucking boss design. Oh my lord. What if, hear me out, what if there was an enemy in the game which was a massive wall of HP that had like 3 different attacks that were piss easy to avoid, but actually killing this enemy took like 3 hours? What if, let's just say hypothetically, what if in order to beat this enemy you had to bash its leg, not the same leg though, you have to switch between the legs, gotta make sure there's at least some engaging gameplay, but what if you had to smash the poor thing's legs until it crumbled and fell to the ground, and you could get a critical hit on its head, only to realize that that critical hit didn't even kill this enemy, so now you have to do it all again. That sounds amazing. That's already like selling me pretty damn well. But what if, hear me out, one more bonus. What if you had to do this like 7 different times throughout the DLC? What do you think? What do you think? Pretty peak, no? Pretty peak, no? Divine Beast dancing line. Poorly executed. This boss is amazing, but the thing which really kills it is the absolutely horrendous camera. Like, it wouldn't have killed you From Software to pull the camera higher a little bit. Because 2 things. First of all, the Divine Beast dancing line, everything's flopping around, it's really hard to see what it's doing. And usually what it is doing is some sort of headbutt or chomp or whatever, which is already as an attack kind of difficult to spot against the Divine Beast dancing line. But if it already has like, if on top of that it also has like a billion different claw physics or whatever and hair physics flopping around blinding you, then that doesn't really help. Secondly, the motherfucker is so huge that usually half the screen is taken up by either his dumbass mug or his dumbass fat bum. And I don't want to look at either one of those things, especially when I'm trying to figure out what attack he's doing. That said though, of course, there's a really cool concept with the second phase where it changes elements based on seasons, and that also adds different ways that you have to avoid the attacks in the different phases. But in the end, man, it is all ruined by the camera. The fact that you can't see anything means you're never gonna try anything special, because I fucking can't see shit. Why would I risk doing anything interesting? Just spam roll and press R1 every now and then. Death Knight. This tier list has them split into 2 versions. I would put both of them as average. They're alright. They're nothing special, but they're really nice, like, fun little rhythmic dance. Not too hard, not too easy. They have one special attack where they drain your HP and heal themselves, and Once that attack hits you once, it will never hit you ever again. You'll always know how to avoid it. In general, they have very cool fighting techniques. The little flash super speed dash with lightning, and their goofy ass various AoEs that they do, which you jump over and whatnot. Pretty fun. Now, Rolano. Now we're getting to the actual good fights. Now we're getting to something interesting. Absolutely A tier boss fight. Now, why not S tier? You might say. You might ask. Is it because I just released a video where I spent 4 hours fighting her? No. No, that's not the case. The reason why Rolana is only A and not S is because there is no story setup for her. She just sort of appears, fights you, kicks your ass, and then leaves. And that's it. Then in the Shadow Keep you find a shield which mentions her again, but that's about it. The Rolana would have absolute S plus tier boss fight if she had a lot more story set up to her. Like there was an NPC specifically tied to her that introduced you to her. She had much more involvement in the crusade. She didn't just appear in some random ass castle in the middle of this fucking DLC and was one of the best boss fights. So that's why she's only A tier. But what put her all the way up to A tier is how amazingly well designed this fight is. Simply because of one thing. Control. You have a lot of control over how you fight Rolana. I really like this. I love this with Melania, I love this with Rolana, the amount of control you have based on how you fight her and attack her. First of all, you know, everyone always says, oh, Rolana, she just starts attacking and never stops. She's trash tier, Elden Ring unfair boss, L. But no, she does stop attacking based on where you are during her combo. Obviously, her combos do get extended based on where you are, so she just keeps hitting you. But if you're like at the very end of her range, she will do combo finishers which leave her open, very open, for very heavy attacks which you can do, and then put her on her knees and do critical hits, or maybe not do critical hits, maybe do some sort of weird goofy weapon arts. One more thing which is really good with Rolana is she is in water. That's amazing because it might seem like nothing, but it really helps that she is in water. This means that she has a weakness against lightning. Just a nice little extra touch, really fun. I also love her music, her look, her everything. Mwah. Just absolutely amazing. Her lore is also really like interesting. I thought this was an absolute like piss take joke when I first saw it. Oh, Rolana. We literally swapped the L and N in Renala and decided this is a new boss. But like, she could have been fucking named, I don't know, Lucy or whatever, and it wouldn't have changed anything because her story is really interesting. It's just not presented and set up to you well. Unlike, for example, Mesmer, who is basically carried more or less by his story. Golden Hippo, bad, boring. This is not really... It's like... How do I describe this? It's like a wall of health that you just unload whatever into. And it also, every single attack it does super staggers you or puts you on the ground. It's just a very annoying, like, either or boss. Either you're just pumping shitloads of damage into it, or it staggers you out of whatever attack you're doing. Again, similar to... Who was it I mentioned this with? In the original Elden Ring boss tier list? I don't know, it was some enemy, but this is a common problem with a lot of the bosses in Elden Ring, Divine Beast, Dancing Lion 2. Not with Rolana though, because she's a good fight. Like every single hit that they do instantly just throws you to the ground, and those are not fun. Because one, it throws you to the ground, but that doesn't mean anything. Because you don't stay on the ground for very long. And the rolling animation of you canceling you being on the ground is not like worse or weaker than your regular roll, other than maybe how much distance it covers. But you being put on the ground does not create some sort of unique gameplay scenario where now you have to do some sort of ground games against a boss. No, it's just a nuisance. It's just a minor inconvenience. Whatever you were doing, the boss just, by turning around goofily, just puts you on the ass and staggers you out of whatever you were doing. It's just annoying. A very limiting aspect of a lot of Elden Ring bosses. It's just whatever you're doing instantly stops it because you didn't do it at the right proper time. It's annoying. Trading makes it like unfun. I get it, it's a big fucking hippo, so obviously if it bashes its head into you, you shouldn't just like take it right on the chin and not even get flinched, but at the same time it's just, I don't know. Skadu Tree Avatar. S tier. Absolutely amazing boss fight. This might shock some people because like, what? Skadu Tree Avatar. No, it's Shadow Tree Avatar. Stupid, stupid. It's Shadow Tree Avatar. Stupid. Stop calling it Skadu. Shadow Tree Avatar in S tier. What? This boss fight feels like classic From Software. Like classic From Software. Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 levels of From Software classicness. Is that a word? I don't know. It's a big goofy sunflower. Its attacks, like, you can go through 2 whole fucking working weeks before the attack actually lands. It doesn't have many attacks. It does. It has like a couple only. And also it has a very, very specific and evident weak spot. Its head. But also, if you're trying to hit its head, that means you're probably very close to up front or in front of it, which is probably the most dangerous place to be in against the Skadu Tree Avatar, as it unlocks more movesets. Just amazing. Also the fake out with the 3 phases, and the 3rd phase is a bombardier nuke. Amazing. That just feels like classic From Software silliness. Just absolute goofiness of a boss fight. Amazing. I love this boss fight. It's amazing. Commander Gaius. Commander Gaius bonus. So, there's a lot of things to say. No, don't worry, I'm not about to... Oh shit, he said so, and then took a pause. Oh, he's gonna put him in S tier and then start spinning a yarn about how he's actually good. In my opinion, Commander Gaius is like A tier because... But I'm not gonna put him there, we'll get to that, but... Because Commander Gaius is very clearly front and center a mounted fight. You're supposed to find him on your horse, or weird goat thing, whatever torrent is. You're supposed to fight him on horseback. Because, first of all, the charge, unavoidable, and insta-kills you because fucking counter damage or whatever the thing is still exists in these games. Wow, real fun. Secondly, a lot of the attacks as soon as you're on horseback are much easier to just outspace. And thirdly, there's another attack in the 2nd phase, the one where he summons the ground, for the rocks from the ground. I can't seem to dodge that on foot, but on horseback it's pretty easy to dodge. Just double jump in a straight line and then dash, and you're out of it. You're chilling. So and you know, as you can see in the clip, the fight can be sort of fun, really engaging, jousting-like fight. And for a joust, it's not just some regular-ass knight on horseback. It's a fun, like, duel with some goofy-looking dude with gravity magic on a fucking boar. That's really cool. So why do I not put him in A? Well, because it has been 2+ years since Elden Ring released. And in all those years, Torrent still has kept his stupid ass animation that he does when you turn around too quickly. Torrent has still kept his massive as fuck stagger animation of him like taking 3 business days for him to recover from getting hit by a slightly stronger attack. And you also, if you get dismounted, stay on the ground for 3 fucking years and take extra damage. All of these things just exist to make horseback riding in Elden Ring as unfun as humanly possible. It has been 2+ years and nothing has been done about that. There are no extra items, there are no additional things which Torrent has been given over the years, neither in the DLC or as any other piece of content, despite the billions of useless craftables in the game. I'm not gonna support that sort of thing because From Software keeps doing this. Every new game they come up with some really cool concept, half-ass it, and then abandon it with the next game. And that's exactly what's gonna happen with the next From Software title. And then when they do return to it, it's still going to be half-baked because they just will not return to these new mechanics. They will only stick with the basic dodge roll R1 spam. And that's it. Putrescent Knight, another S tier boss fight. Actually no, A tier. Because same problem as Rolana, just randomly shows up and is a good boss and then leaves. Unlike the Shadow Tree, which like the Shadow Tree avatar. The Shadow Tree is everywhere in the DLC. Putrescent Knight as a boss is really fun to fight. There's a lot of really weird, goofy combos it does that you avoid in really weird and goofy ways. Jumping over the frostbite spells, jumping over various slashes which carry the Putrescent Knight forward, so you jump backward, but you jump over the attack but back, so that you end up near Putrescent Knight and can hit him. Lots of really cool stuff. The music is also incredible. Again, problem is just randomly shows up, no story setup. Mid-tier. Yeah, well executed. One of the greatest parts of Elden Ring. I'm gonna bring this up again, but one of those memories I have of Elden Ring, which are etched into my memory for good, is meeting Radahn face to face for the first time, getting pestered by arrows, and then closing the distance, and him putting the bow away, pulling out his swords, and slowly coming up to you, and as he comes up to you, you realize just how fucking massive that guy is. An absolutely amazing cinematic moment with no use of actual like cutscenes and whatever. Meteor has another one of these moments where the Phase 2 transition and the whole Phase 2 music and the vibe of Phase 2 just absolute peak. Like there was a weird sense of horror I got when I first saw that. Absolutely amazing. Now, as for the fight itself, it is very interesting that Meteor turns around to like her, I assume, fingered part of her body, the finger leg things, so that she can do the little finger creeper crawl walk, which is super hard to avoid and basically insta-kills you. So in order to do that, you dodge the regular finger flick thing she does, and then you run up to be in front of her. Another really good part about Meteor is she has a very clear weakness, a very clear opening. I really like those kinds of boss fights which just have a very evident weakness that you fight around. Really cool. The movesets are fine. She doesn't have way too many ridiculous, crazy combos, and her basically bread and butter being that she can up to 3 times repeat the combo finisher of her combo finishers. It's pretty good. In her second phase, she also gains a lot of very goofy attacks which you avoid very goofily. Like, for example, the one where she jumps up into the air, or rises up into the air, starts spinning, and then flings herself at you. That's a really cool move to avoid, because the way you avoid it is you like run a little perpendicular to like the right, and then like the moment she flings herself at you, you roll straight forward, not backwards, not to the side, straight forward. So you like go past her forward momentum, because she turns into a lingering hitbox as long as she's spinning, of course. That's a really fun move to avoid. In the first phase, she also just has a lot of weird, cool attacks, like she spawns finger creepers. They're kind of annoying, but also like a unique way to just change how you engage with the fight. The one where she just makes the big fucking balls come up from the ground, which are like landmines. That's another really cool attack. It never really hits you, and usually you just run away through it, but much better than her just doing some weird swing with her arm, number 3454, which you have to roll through. So that's really fun. I don't like the lasers in the second phase. When she transitions to the second phase, her triple laser shot from her one eye, I don't really care for that one, because it's really hard to avoid up close, and she does have a habit of just doing that up close for no reason. Then of course there's the other attack, which I'm not very fond of, which is obviously the big like cosmic laser beam explosion, whatever the fuck. The one where she rises into the air, creates a no-go zone under her, and then starts shooting a laser which circles around this no-go zone, so you have to find ways of like avoiding it, because you can't really roll through it as far as I'm aware. You can, however, in a very interesting way, duck under the second circle that this laser is doing, which is really fun. The problem with this attack is I still don't know, and I haven't seen anyone that does know how to avoid the first laser, the first like circle of the laser. I always get hit by that. It doesn't do a lot of damage, so at least there's that, but I never know how to avoid that. And I do kind of agree that this attack does take a little too long. Like you should be able to duck under the second laser, and that's it. She just falls down and that attack is over, because otherwise, if you don't have range, you're not really doing much damage to Meteor in that case. But other than that, this is an amazing boss. I love this boss fight. I love big, huge, weird, cosmic monster bosses, which use big, weird, crazy, goofy-looking attacks. I didn't really like Briettas in Elden Ring, in Bloodborne, because she just like flop your tentacles around the boss. Not really fun. Meteor actually makes use of her unique design in interesting ways. In multiple interesting ways. Really nice. Juri, Elder Inquisitor. I'm with Albino on this one. This is a terrible boss. Yet another one of those disguised archers pretending to be a mage. Juri does not do anything magical. He just throws projectiles at you, and then when you close the distance, he teleports away. With an explosive teleport away, by the way. Hold up now. And then he summons fucking NPC enemies to just regular ass ads to hit you, because he himself is not very capable of killing you. Wow. What a fucking boss fight. What a boss fight. This would have been a really cool in and of itself, like, you know, Doom Eternal, whenever Doom Eternal uses an archvile, the entire like combat arena automatically just changes. So this would have been a really cool, just a regular enemy to have in the Abyssal Woods every now and then. But instead they just turned it into a very terrible boss fight. Wow, great. I'm so happy. Ugh. Midra, Lord of Frenzied Flame. This is gonna be another one of those edging streaks I'm gonna pull at you. I love Midra's soundtrack. It is amazing. The way it sounds like some sort of evil slowly creeping up, but every now and then it gets cold, like simmered down, tamed, whatnot. And then in the second phase, in the latter half, it just goes full on out and amazing. I love the arena in which you fight Midra is well, we'll get to that. But the visual of Midra is amazing. Obviously, really cool king in yellow with the extra like fire head ball thing for a head. Really cool. Just in general, Midra is fucking badass. Him being crucified with the weird sword thing is peak. Is peak. It's fire, but you know, all these visuals, the story also really great. You know, Midra is perfectly set up as a boss fight. But all of these things will pale in comparison if the actual fight in and of itself is just uneventful dog shit. And that's exactly what Midra is. 90% of Midra's moveset is locked behind you being in an unfavorable position against Midra. What? You're never fighting Midra at mid-range. Get it? Lol. You're never fighting Midra at long range, even if you're a mage. You always hug his body and circle strafe around him and dodge around, like in a circle around him. And when you do that, you reduce the entirety of Midra's moveset to his most boring fucking parts. Absolutely terrible. I don't know what to say. He's literally less interesting than the regular Black Knights you find around the entire DLC. The Black Knights that you find around the DLC have more of a strategy to fighting you than Midra, who literally just swings his dumbass sword from side to side, and every now and then it lights up with flame. Why? Because the rest of his moveset he only uses if you're not in front, not literally hugging him, which is just an impossible position for you to be in against him, because he also closes the distance all the fucking time. What a terrible boss fight. When we get to that part in my playthrough, which is, by the way, you know, that blind playthrough is just cursed forever to be the worst playthrough of Elden Ring's DLC you will ever see on YouTube. Guaranteed. But yeah, like, first of all, like me going through the Abyssal Woods, like the first 2 hours of that, I lost that footage. Fuck sakes. So I had to use a different character and haphazardly record the visuals for that, but keep the audio from the original recording. Then when I got to Midra, I was already like half done with that part of the fucking game already. And then when I realized that Midra is literally just an oversized Knight Artorias with even less goated sauce, then bruh, I just was done with it. And the part right after that, I basically compared Midra to Godric, in that Godric is way more interesting in the way he is designed. Like, first of all, he's set up, he has everything Midra has, but also the fight is really good. Godric's fight is not very hard, but it is very geniusly designed. You know, because Godric fights like a coward. Every single cheap trick that there could be, Godric has it. A like 3-frame startup attack with a storm when you're up close to him that basically is guaranteed to hit you, and gets larger with the more he does it with the storm calling thing, so it continues hitting you. Godric has it. Super delayed attacks with very quick follow-ups to make sure that if you do know when to dodge that attack, you get caught by the follow-up. Cheap, coward fucking attack. Godric has it. Godric extends his fucking attacks for years. Godric uses fucking... If you're up close to him, he starts spitting the flame onto the ground and then following you as he's spitting the flame on the ground. Every single cheap trick in the book, Godric has it, and it's perfect. Only because Godric is doing it, because Godric is specifically described as a fucking coward that uses every single disgusting underhanded tactic in any way, shape or form to get an advantage. Amazing. The fight is not hard, weirdly enough, but it is just geniusly designed. Meanwhile, Midra, Midra has cool attacks. Cool fucking Flame of Frenzy laser attacks, Flame of Frenzy ball of fire he spawns, Flame of Frenzy fucking things he shoots out which you can jump over, but you never see any of those moves because you fight up close to Midra, and when you're fighting up close with Midra, he just swings his sword from side to side. Every now and then he does the weapon art, jumps into the air to try and crucify you. Absolutely fucking useless attack. One more thing, unlike the whole Golden Hippo or Divine Beast Dancing Lion, when Midra hits you, it's just a stagger. Just a regular, slightly like curl up and then get back up. He doesn't put you on the ass, which is something that Midra desperately needs to get the rest of his moveset going. He really needed to just hit you, knock you back 15 feet, and then be allowed to do his fucking cool moves, but he never does them. You're just stuck right up his bum, and he just keeps swinging the same 3-hit combo that you instantly punish. I guess you could argue that it's like a level of control you have over the boss fight, but also like, what the fuck? It's like so easy to do this. You delete the entire moveset of this boss just by standing next to him. What? And he doesn't do anything to like change that. In fact, he actively sabotages himself by having 15 different moves which close the distance. What the fuck? Mesmer the Impaler.
Mongrel Intruder.
Although Mesmer as a fight is not really that crazy interesting and good of a fight, he is definitely S tier simply because of how well set up he is throughout the entire DLC. People, if Promised Consort Radahn didn't exist, people would remember this DLC specifically and only for Mesmer, because of just how incredibly shades of grey or shades of black and white his entire story is. Like, the Hornsent are assholes, but also genocide is kind of fucking cringe. But also, he got abandoned by his fucking mother, but also like everything that you learn about Mesmer just makes his character deeper and deeper and deeper. It adds more and more layers to everything. And I especially like that Queeline, when you meet him, he says the classic Mesmer fucking catchphrase, all those stripped of the grace of gold shall meet death in the embrace of Mesmer's flame. He says it in a very enthusiastic fucking battle cry way. Mesmer, in the end, whenever he kills you in the first phase, he says it in a sort of dejected, like, oh fuck, I have to repeat this dogshit line again. Because he's probably killed every single person he's killed, he said that line just to make himself look more imposing and turn himself more into a fearmonger. All for the sake of his goofy mother that abandoned him in the end. Well, she didn't really abandon him. She's stuck in the Earth Tree. She can't do anything. Such a sad little story, man. But also, like, very grey. I mean, he's a fucking racist genocider. I can't believe From Software or George R. R. Martin or both of them combined made me, like, feel sympathy for a racist genocider. Crazy. But the fight itself isn't anything special. He is literally Knight Artorias of the Abyss. Like, the exact same level of complexity, minus maybe the second phase being a little more, like, a little complexity on top. Not as in, like, it's more complex than Artorias, but it's just one more layer of complexity more than Artorias ever has. But, like, he still has very regular attacks which you have to dodge, and you have to pay attention to each individual attack. He doesn't have way too many attacks. He has like a perfect amount of combos which he does that you have to lock in and roll through. And of course he does have like that one, he has like the one little special gimmick which you have to pay attention to, like with Artorias and him buffing. With Mesmer, it's stuff like, you know, is he doing the weapon art, or is he just doing the regular jump up big slash thing? Really just not a very complex boss fight, a very Artorias of the Abyss, very much so. But at least everything else about Mesmer is just above and beyond, better than Artorias, which is why he is in S tier. Which is crazy. The only S tier fight, there's only like 2 S tier fights in this DLC. Spoiler alert, I guess. Romina, Saint of the Bud, I would actually dare say, poorly executed. Now there's this scarecrow which I made up in my mind. This straw man, this boogeyman, this evil creature which dares speak ill of Elden Ring, which I always rush to the defense to. I always lift my great shield up and defend the poor little indie game known as Elden Ring from the criticisms of this evil boogeyman scarecrow. But anyway, this evil boogeyman scarecrow is saying that Romina is actually kind of underrated. Just because she's not difficult or crazy, has some crazy ass moves which insta-kill you, doesn't mean she's bad. And to that I say, I agree. Generally, a boss fight doesn't need that to be good, you know. Shadow Tree Avatar. It's Shadow Tree Avatar. Stupid. Shadow Tree Avatar is a good example of this. But Romina is basically wasted potential the boss. She is like 3 parts, so you would expect these 3 parts to like be fighting independent. Like, I look at Romina and the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, which limb do I cut off first to make her weaker? How do I control this fight by cutting off these individual limbs? And it's not that. It's just, it's sort of really basic, just, it's actually just about as complex as the regular knight you find in the regular Black Knight you find in the DLC. It's just unlike them, she looks way different. But other than that, there is no complexity, no interesting, unique gimmick to this fight. She's supposed to inflict Scarlet Rot, but she never does it. Like, you barely ever get Scarlet Rotted. Would be really funny if in that moment in my blind playthrough, when I meet Romina, I like instantly phase 2 I get Scarlet Rotted. That would be really funny, but usually she doesn't Scarlet Rot you. Her attacks, like the centipede, is sort of a simple 1-2-3 combo that you roll to the side to. Nothing too complex. Usually most of the fight, most of the damage is done by the middle part of Romina. The person, the actual Romina. She's the one that usually hits you. She does have like the perfect, same as Mesmer, she does have that perfect amount of combos that you have to lock in and dodge quote unquote perfectly against in a really nice rhythm. She's not literally just non-stop these sort of attacks non-stop over and over again, meaning you literally have no space to do anything unique of your own, but she does have some in a perfect amount. But the rest of the fight doesn't really feel any unique or interesting in any way. She just looks cool and that's it. She's also not set up in terms of story at all very well. Same as Rolana or Putrescent Knight, she just appears. Lol. She's the girl in the trailer, and then you hear nothing of her, and she just fucking randomly pops up. Hi, I'm Romina. Yeah, I'm the next boss. Let's fight. And then she leaves. What the fuck? and again, she's not unique in any way. The second phase only adds like 3 extra attacks. Alright, cool. This fight would have been way cooler if each individual body part of Romina, or body part, the stinger, the centipede, and the person, could attack independently of each other. Meaning you had to cut off each individual part in interesting ways, and of course also making it so that the stinger actually does something in the fight. It literally has like 2 attacks it is used for. The regular ground slam stinger thing and the grab attack. That's the only thing she uses the stinger for, as far as I'm aware. So making the stinger actually usable in some way would be really nice, so that different builds would have to cut off different limbs at different times. Would have been really cool. But no, in the end, Romina is just some really cool looking fight with very little complexity and a couple really fun to dodge through combos. That's it. Not really interesting as a boss fight. Very forgettable, especially for Elden Ring when you have something like Meteor, Putrescent Knight, and Rolana, which basically just do Romina but better. Specifically, Meteor just does Romina but better. She definitely, like, Meteor makes full use of her entire visage and body. Romina doesn't. She just does random ass swings and that's it. Now this character here, you all know her. You all know her. You all love her. Our psychotic girlfriend Leda. She was not in this tier list originally. I added her, or at least I don't think she is. So I added her. Because obviously she's a representative of the NPC gank fucking chaotic boss fight, or gank fight that you do before fighting Radahn, Consort of Miquella. This fight, I really like this fight. I would dare say this is an S tier fight. Simply because of how unique as a whole concept it is. And yeah, I can already hear the other super scary scarecrow boogeyman that I made up, which came to the defense of the other super scary boogeyman scarecrow that I made up, saying that yeah, it's a cool concept, you can do different quests and that heavily alters who and what you fight against in this boss fight, but also it's a fucking NPC fight and those suck in Elden Ring, period. Blah, 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 blah. So obviously this fight sucks. And I'm just like, bruh, nah, You grab your spirit summon, you grab your friends, you grab your hoes, and you go to town on this, and it will be the biggest fun you will ever have in Elden Ring, guaranteed. Just absolutely chaotic, crazy, nonsensical bullshit. The game, like, constantly, every single time I get into this boss fight, I'm just out there having a duel with Dane, who just endlessly bomb rushes me with his goofy ass kicks. Meanwhile, every now and then I catch a glimpse of what's going on in the back, and I just see Freya and Ansbach and my spirit summons and Theolia and fucking Leda and maybe even Sir Moore, if I let him live that long. Just doing random ass shit, fucking throwing bombs at each other, using goofy ass spells and all that shit. So fucking fun. It's chaotic, it's nonsensical, it's goofy as hell. Just Freya jumps into the air, gets clipped by some random ass piece of damage, falls onto the ground, takes 3 business days to get up. Meanwhile, fucking my big mouth imp is like a tiger tank in Germany 1945, shooting down whatever it is fucking aiming at. Ansbach is eating damage from everything. Theolia is poisoning everyone, just fucking blinding everyone by spewing poison everywhere. Ugh, fucking amazing fight. And on top of that, you can turn this fight into whatever the hell you want. Do you only want to fight against Leda and Dane? You can, no problem. Do you want to only fight against Leda and Dane and have like 2 summons on your side, plus maybe even 2 other spirit summon NPCs on your side, just absolutely ganking the shit out of these 2? You can simply do the quests in the right order. Every time you replay this DLC with these NPC quests, it matters how you do them. You just can change the fight in whatever way you have. So much replayability in one fight, and it's incredibly fun. It's not that hard. And obviously, me as someone who plays PvP and engages with those sorts of things and knows stupid things like roll catches and when is the perfect, well, quote-unquote perfect time to use a really stupid silly weapon or to just guarantee it will hit the player model when it is getting up or recovering from some sort of animation, then that obviously helps. But it's an incredibly fun fight. In one of the clips that I'm showing, hopefully right now, you can see just how much blood there is on the entire screen for just hitting everyone with various attacks. It's so cool, such an amazing fight. And from one great, incredibly interesting, unique fight, we move on to the most watered down, basic dog shit of a boss fight From Software has ever fucking made. I'm serious. I have a specific tier designed just for this. No. To quote the great person who took a massive dump on Demon Souls as soon as they played the tutorial, back before Demon Souls even came out, this boss fight is crap. This is an unbelievably bad boss. I'm serious when I say this. Nothing works for this boss fight. The entire concept of this doesn't work in more ways than one. For one, just twink gay brothers having a go at it. I know that's not what it's actually supposed to mean in the original Japanese, but I'm sorry, the English is very nonchalant about this, and they repeat it like 15 times over in the various cutscenes at the final boss. Secondly, it's Radahn, again, but a much less interesting version of him. He's not on his horse, he's not 15 times your size, he's just swinging his sword into you in combos which you can't do anything interesting against, with basically zero recovery time for his fucking attacks. Ugh. Then the next thing, the camera. Oh, it's really cool, the camera is glued to the ground to make sure you know how big he is, but because you have to fight him up close, you can't fucking see anything in the second phase. And also just the camera clips into the fucking walls. Oh my god, and the terrain? The fucking terrain, the fact that it is uneven in the second, it pulls you to the uneven part of the of the arena when you fight him, and that has a massive effect on if you do or do not get hit by the lightning rays in the second phase. What the fuck were they thinking when they made this boss fight? I'm convinced this whole fight is just one big massive troll by From Software. What else is there? The music. The music is amazing. It is just a rendition of Radahn. But the second phase music, honestly, I'm not really feeling it. Every time I'm listening to the Radahn OST, the Promised Consort Radahn OST, and it transitions into the second phase, I instantly rewind back to the first phase. I really do not care for the second phase. It like loses all the charm and interesting stuff of the Radahn first phase music. Radahn's first phase music sounds like how shall I put this? It sounds like what the villain hears whenever they face off against a hero. It's like, oh, it's the heroic soundtrack, but it also has like really fucking scary undertones because you know you're going to die against him. It sounds so cool, and the second phase music sounds like sort of generic angelic choir music. I just always, every time I hear the second phase music, I'm like, I mean, it's peak, it's really well composed and all that, but I don't give a fuck. It doesn't invoke the same bombastic emotions as Radahn's first phase music, which is like heroic but fucking scary because look at this fucking guy. You know, it's heroic because it's General Radahn, the greatest, mightiest warrior of the festival. And also, it's fucking General Radahn, the mightiest demigods of the fucking shattering. Oh shit, we're gonna die. The second phase, meanwhile, is like, gods, divinity, fucking epic. Lemicula, he's so kind, lol. Bruh. Oh yeah, and also, by the way, did I mention that in the second phase he has like 15 different insta-kill moves? The Meteor Strike at 30% or so health, which is meant to be like a haha got you lol, it insta-killed you lol, didn't expect he would pull that one off, did you? Yeah, great, I can't wait to fucking do this fucking dogshit restrictive boss fight again. Thanks, FromSoft. He caught you twice with a grab attack, insta-killed you, heart stolen. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, great, I can't wait to fight against this restrictive as boss fight again. Thanks. Like, all of these little issues add up to just being this fight not being fun. It doesn't matter that it's satisfying to beat because of how restrictive and rhythmic the fight in of itself is. It doesn't matter how hard and thus rewarding it is to beat. Just in general, this fight is shit. Goodbye. It can be difficult, it can be satisfying to beat, it can even be very like pay attention to how you roll, keep with the rhythm of the boss fight, but that doesn't automatically make it a good boss. It's still shit. Another thing that doesn't work for this boss fight, fucking nothing works for this boss fight. Elden Ring is an open world RPG, you can make the craziest fucking builds in this game, and you can use none of them against Radahn. In second phase, he's fucking immune to everything, takes 0 damage from everything. Like in the clips you're seeing, I use Europa, the fucking Europa blade or whatever the fuck it's called, because it seems like it's the only thing that does damage against him. I know that probably it doesn't do any extra damage, maybe. It's just simply because both of the builds I'm using in these clips are Dex Faith builds, which is exactly what Europa wants. Europa, it's Euphoria, but I keep calling it the Europa. Europa blade. Europa vortex. Whatever. But yeah, another thing which doesn't work for this boss fight is that it is so restrictive. With Rolana, you can stagger her quite effectively. Her openings, many of her combo finisher openings just leave her wide open for very goofy, silly, fully charged R2 attacks. Meaning you probably put her on the ass quite often. Meaning whenever you do put her on the ass, you have time to use your longest fucking spell you have in your arsenal right then and there. If you, for some reason, need to do that. It's some weird spell that has like long-term effects on the boss fight. Like it applies Scarlet Rot or applies poison or whatever. You can use it when you stagger her. Just cast Poison Cloud and then use Repulsed, whatever. With Radahn, fuck no, bro. I don't know how much stance damage you have to do to the Radahn to stagger him, but it's way too much. Way too much for how little openings he leaves for fully charged R2s. It's incredibly restrictive. Usually you're just doing jumping R1s, jumping heavies, jumping R2s. To stagger him, you can't use fully charged R2 attacks on 90% of your fucking weapons because they're too slow and he just hits you. In the second phase, if he hits you, you're fucked because usually he's designed, like most bosses in the Elden Ring DLC, he's designed so that if you get hit once, you didn't just lose a chunk of your health. You actually might have just fucking lost the entire fight because he doesn't have some special, he's using a healing item, I'm gonna use this one attack that I use always to punish healing or consumable usage. Like for example, the Godskin Apostle has a throwable fireball, which they use, or the jumping attack, the jump spin thing which they do. And when they do it, it's like, they either hit you, you lost a charge of Estus, and you also lost the health you regained from using that Estus, but that's it. Most of the bosses in the DLC are like, nah, I'm just gonna do my regular ass fucking combo, which is usually meant to take you from 100 to 0% health. So, well, great, you hit me once, you actually just killed me, even though I still have health left. No, you actually just killed me because you fucking keep on attacking and I have to wait for 3 hours until you finally do the one attack when I can heal. Incredibly restrictive, incredibly unfun, incredibly unfitting boss fight for this game. Dogshit fight. However, this is why I left Bale the Peak for the absolute last, because I didn't want to end on a very sour note. Bale the Dread. Best boss fight From Software has ever made. Period. I know, I hate when people do this. The hyperboles, the fucking... I think, genuinely, I think this might be the greatest thing this developer has ever made. Like, shut the fuck up. You say that every other fucking thing you say. This is either the worst thing they've ever made, or this is either the best thing they've ever made. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen them do. This is the other greatest thing I've seen them do. Like, fuck off, man. But Bale the Dread, oh man. The setup with Egon, incredibly unique. The reference to Captain Ahab and Moby Dick, mwah. Then their names, Bale as in Balerion, Egon as in Aegon, mwah. Another peak, like a little cherry on top. But the setup of you having to climb the jagged peak, it's already called Jagged Peak because the best boss fight in all of FromSoft history is there. But you having to scale the jagged peak, and there's no enemies there. There's just pure atmosphere. Sure, there's a couple dragons, and you have to do the dragon fucking duo fight, but at least like it's somewhat interesting. It's not just another dragon, that's it. It's at least two dragons also fighting each other, so you can do things there. But just the fact that there are no enemies, that there's rocks falling down to try and hit you, and then as you get closer to Bale, there's fucking lightning strikes going down around you, and the further up you go, the less you can see everywhere else. Oh. And then you meet him. Bale the Dread. The dragon priestess spoke of him as the scumbag that fucking hurt our poor lord of Placidusax and then ran away. The fucking coward. Tuy on him. Disgusting fucking Bale the Dread. Fui, I hate him. I'm quoting the dragon priestess. Word for word, that's what she said. Egon probably said something similar to that effect. And then he started screaming for no reason. And then you meet him, and he's missing all of his fucking limbs. Aside from his leg and his tail and his head, all of his limbs are crippled in some very drastic way. Amazing, man. The way he's balancing himself with his tail, the way he uses the one arm which has the bone exposed as a makeshift fucking weapon to hit you. Ugh. Just such a genius visual design. But of course, what about the actual fight? Is the fight interesting in any way? It is, very much so. First of all, Bale doesn't really have many like those lock in and start dodging in a rhythm combos. Most of the time with Bale, positioning and simply being in the right spot is what just avoids most attacks. I love the way he spits fire on the ground, which is like a really like, oh no, get off me please. But at the same time, you use that attack to get an opportunity to hit his exposed bone, which you use to deal more damage. On top of that, you can hit him in the head, but that's more dangerous. You can hit him in the head to do more damage, but that's also more dangerous because that unlocks his entire moveset. Or you can hide under him to like hit his exposed leg to try and stagger him, put him on the ground, and then instead of doing a riposte, if you don't get any bonuses from the riposte, usually you can just run to the exposed bone and do more damage to Bale that way. Ugh. So fucking creative, so fucking fun. And also the way you just various different attacks based on how you avoid, to which direction you dodge, you get an opportunity to hit the exposed bone and do extra damage. Like I said, with Meteor and with Shadow Tree, almost said Scatter Tree again, with the Shadow Tree avatar, a boss having a very exposed weakness which you hit and control the fight around, like deciding to where you want to dodge with that fight, is so fucking genius, man. I love it. I fucking love it. And of course there's the other aspect of Egon being summonable and just how geniusly as a summon Egon is designed. He has various Dragon Communion spells, but the one we really care about is Grail's Roar. For some reason he has those, even though Grail is alive, presumably, and if she isn't, we consume Grail's heart, not Egon, but whatever. He has Grail's Roar, and if you've used that Dragon Communion incantation, then you know that Grail's Roar is basically Wrath of the Gods, but it also decreases the resistances and like defenses of whatever you hit. So absolutely amazing as a spell for an NPC summon which has so much health that he basically never dies. For him to just constantly keep applying this debuff to Bale, it's an attack and defense debuff on Bale. Incredibly useful. The other thing, he's not stupid enough to keep rushing in because his main weapon is a bow. So he always keeps to the back and just keeps shooting a bow, drawing attention away from you when you need it, and also doing pretty damn good damage with every single shot of the bow. And also, it works great for you because he shoots Bale with the bow. Bale turns to face Egon and just literally flashes his exposed bone, which you deal extra damage to, right into your face. Amazing. And of course his dialogue is also really great. Just so many things were carefully thought out for this fight. There's one attack I don't really like. It's the one where he jumps up into the air, starts spitting the flames like in a horizontal line, but they spread to you, so you have to like in a weird way dodge through that. And then he follows it up with like a flame uppercut. He's still in the air, but he basically does a flame uppercut. He starts spitting flame in an uppercut motion, and then the flames blow up a little while after hitting the ground. I don't really like that move too much. It's one of those lock-in, perfectly dodge at the perfect moment attacks. But usually because each individual attack does so much damage because he is Bale the Dread, usually messing up once means that entire combo kills you. So I'm not too fond of that, and I'm also not too fond of the fact that his phase 2 transition, for reasons unknown, usually locks off your camera randomly. So I'm not a fan of that one either. But other than that, really good fight. I also like that fighting Bale locked on completely changes the fight. Locked on means usually you're hitting the head, or you just temporarily turning on the lock on to make sure that your weapon hits Bale. But usually it's much better to just fight locked off against Bale, and that, again, just unique way to use and abuse the mechanics of the game for an interesting fight. Just a fucking amazing boss fight. Thank God this boss exists in the same DLC as this one. It balances out the DLC. But yeah, that's that. In general, if I were to compare it to the original Elden Ring tier list, then I would probably, in SS Plus, I would keep the bosses which are put in SS Plus. So alongside Melania and Patches LOL, I would put these two, obviously. Keep that thing very uncrowded. It is SS plus whatever Goblin Insanity I have put in, as the tier. And that is specifically reserved for only the best of the best. I would put these bosses into S tier, wouldn't move them down to A. Our S tier in the Elden Ring boss tier list is quite crowded. I would maybe move Morgoth down a peg, simply because he usually doesn't have enough health to do most of his fun stuff in by the time most people get to Morgoth. A, I would keep this. I would add a special S- tier into which I would put basically Rolana and Putrescent Knight. B, average, yeah, I'd keep them here. C, yeah, I'm fine with that being added on top of wherever it was in the regular Elden Ring boss tier list. F, terrible. Yeah, these guys belong right up there with what are they called? The Erdtree avatars and the like. Yep, just right in there. Perfectly slot right in there. And of course, I would carry a special extra tier into the Elden Ring boss tier list that would be specifically named this exact thing as it is named, and it would be specifically and only for Promised Consort Radahn. Unbelievably dogshit fight. Yeah. Midra would be basically placed around the same tier as Magma Worm Makar and Tibia Mariner. I'm okay with that. No. Sometimes a polarizing or insulting a boss fight which is ruined by a good boss fight that is ruined by a couple simple but really, really impactful mistakes on the design aspect of the fight. Just, yeah, put them in bad. It's just the truth, and no matter how good the soundtrack or visuals are, it won't save Midra from being mid. Below mid. Yeah. This is it. Bale the Dread. Bale the Peak. Bale the greatest fucking dragon boss From Software has ever designed. That's one more thing, by the way. There is not a single good boss fight in Elden Ring without the DLC. Because Placidusax running away the boss, the 90% of the regular dragon bosses, wow, great. And then the ancient dragon boss fights, fucking dogshit fights. Literally, do 0 damage to the legs, never stagger them, the boss fight. Wow, what a boss. Well, Fortisax is pretty good. But yeah, Bale is the only, better than Calamine, much better than Medir, because unlike Medir, it doesn't take 3 years to kill Bale, and even if it does, at least Bale is doing interesting attacks, not running across the arena with an attack that will never hit you and waste your time, and then in the second phase he does it twice in a row to waste even more of your time. No, Bale the Dread, just perfect boss fight.